Krishna, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure you all could be doing something else on a brisk Sunday evening in Brooklyn, but you decided to be here, so I would like to offer my deep gratitude and appreciation to all of you for taking your valuable time to be here. I often like to share one great personality, Chanakya Pandit. Those of you know who he is. He made the statement that actually more valuable than money is time, because money can be lost and gotten back again. So no matter, in one sense, how you spend it, where you spend it, but time, every second spent, is gone forever. You can't get that moment back. So being here with all of you is, for me, a very valuable investment of my time. And I'm very grateful to all of you for making also this investment of time to be here. And as mentioned, we're going to discuss the topic of Krishna and Christ. Anyone would like to venture a guess why we're talking about this topic now? Christmas, thank you. Yes. A few people were like, oh, yes, of course. So yes, next week, Thursday, will be Christ Mass, which we'll discuss a little bit about the nomenclature and different significant connections between the idea of Krishna consciousness and what one might say Christ consciousness, and how they're very similar. Before I begin, I would like to chant some Sanskrit prayers. These prayers are an invocation to help us to center our consciousness. Of course, we just had this amazing kirtan, which really put us in the right place. But for myself, just to chant these prayers. If you know them, you can join me. And if you don't, then you can meditate on the transcendental sound vibration. So this topic of Christ and Krishna, because often it's a little bit of a curious issue. I grew up as a Christian. Anyone else here from kind of a Christian background or still kind of Christian? So I guess when I was very young, it was interesting growing up, and my parents didn't really go to church, but they sent us to Sunday school. So I think they really wanted us to be religious. And later I found out that my mom was a deeply, deeply spiritual person, deeply religious. But she had had such an adverse experience in the church that once she went to the church and she was wearing something red, similar to the gentleman in the back, your hat is red. And the preacher turned his whole sermon into a lesson for her that anyone who wears red is going to hell. And so she was kind of awestruck by that and a bit hurt, as you would be. You know, you go to a place of God to connect with God, and somehow you leave kind of feeling judged, and maybe even that for something that doesn't seem so significant. Oh, not to admonish whatever someone else may think, but she was definitely scarred. So at that point, she communed with God in her own heart and mind, and she said, I know that you're there, I believe in you, but I don't believe what I've just heard. So therefore, I'm never going to go to church again. From now on, my heart will become my church, and I'll commune with you there. But nevertheless, she sent us. So, go figure. So anyhow, we would go every Sunday, and mostly for, what is it called, Sunday school. And then sometimes we would go afterwards to the sermon. And I started to see something also for myself as a young person. First, I was so inspired by what I was hearing about Lord Jesus. I was thinking, this person is such a powerful personality. And as I was growing up, realizing so many people in the world follow and devote their entire lives to Jesus Christ. And I was thinking, what an exceptional personality. And, you know, you hear of the different miracles and the different teachings, and I was so very inspired. But somehow I was finding that not always are the followers following so strictly what the teacher is teaching. And sometimes I would see on Sunday lots of people saying hallelujah, praise the Lord, and on Monday they were like getting drunk and swearing and doing all kinds of things. And I was like, wait a minute, you were the same people yesterday who were doing this and now today. Again, not to condemn anyone, it's just sharing my own personal reflection. So as I was growing up, I kind of thought, I began to open myself up to see what else is out there. So as time went on, somehow I found myself attracted to many different religions of the world. But I often felt that if you choose one, somehow you automatically become an enemy of another. And I thought, isn't this so bizarre? Isn't this just, it's weird.
The football team or something.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah. So I found myself creating my own little altar, and I had different symbols of different religions on it, and I felt like I could connect with all of them, and that was okay. And somewhere along the way, I found Buddhism seemed to be the one that you could be with, and it seemed like they didn't really have so many enemies. Of course, later I kind of realized that somehow Buddhism almost didn't even believe in God. So then that seemed to defeat the whole point. So I was just like, religion was a bit baffling. But in my heart, I began to relate more to what my mother was saying, that I felt like somehow I'm connecting with God. I know God is there. I don't really know exactly the best way to approach the divine, but I started finding yoga and meditation was a great way to help me do that. And I'm sorry, I'm just going on about myself here, and I know the talk is meant to be something else, but I just wanted to share a little bit. So later, my best friend and his wife, they became Krishna devotees. And it was interesting because at first, he and I grew up together, and we were both spiritual seekers. And he started telling me about the Hare Krishnas. And I said, I'm really happy you found faith in God, but now I found a good job in the city where I'm earning a lot of money and I'm partying very hard, and I'm not really so interested in that. Although I know they say there's a God-shaped heart or space. How's it go? Yeah, God-shaped hole in the heart. And I was feeling that no matter how much money I earned, I always was looking. I wasn't quite satisfied, and something was missing, and what is that thing? So my friend eventually finally tried to convince me to come to the temple, but I was still a bit like, Hare Krishnas. I kind of, as I'm looking at you, I'm remembering I had hair like twice as long as yours, and nose rings and earrings and all kinds of things. And I was like a dude, And I was like, I'm not going to wear bed sheets, shave my head, and dance with a tambourine in the street. That's not what dudes do, right? But, so now look at me. Anyway. So my friend, he kept trying to convince me, and I went. And one of my first experiences, unfortunately, was I felt there was some hypocrisy there, and I said, I'm not going back there. And but then later, somehow I met someone that really, really deeply inspired me. And I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada here. And in that lecture, Srila Prabhupada was talking with his students, probably in an assembly like this, but maybe bigger. And he asked them a question. He said, what is first-class religion? And I was listening, thinking, with my hypocritical hat on, of course he's asking a question we all know. Everyone's going to say, Hare Krishna. Because, that's, there's only one way to God, and it must be, if he's asking, it must be to be a Hare Krishna. And so someone, of course, in the audience said, Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes. But what else? And I was like, ooh, what else? What else could be first-class religion? And you could hear that all the students in the room, they were baffled. Like, why would Srila Prabhupada say, what else? And then he said something that I've never forgotten. That was, 27, 28 years ago. He said, first-class religion is any religion that brings you into a loving relationship with God. And when he said that, it was like, a thunderbolt hit my heart. And I thought, this man is speaking the truth. Finally, I'm hearing someone speak the truth about God. And he said, Krishna consciousness is our approach to God. But there are many ways to get to God. And then he went on to discuss about how one could chant on the rosary the names of Jesus, or one could chant the names of Allah. One could do so many different things to connect with God. But the ultimate goal, and the same goal for all of us, is that we cultivate and develop a loving relationship with God. So for me, that was the little thing that just tipped me over. And then I thought, okay, let me try this chanting. And then once I started chanting, that was it. So anyway, long story short, any religion that helps us to come closer to a loving relationship with God is first class. But it requires work on both sides. It's not an easy thing to develop a loving relationship with God. Why is that? Because God is pure. And to get close to the pure, we also have to become pure in heart, in intention. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked, how many pure devotees are there? How many pure people are there, like you, Prabhupada? And he said, how many students do I have? And they said, Prabhupada, we're not pure. And then he gave an answer. He said, a mango is a mango. And they were like, yeah. like one of those Yoda answers. Like, oh, a mango is a mango. And so they were like, what the heck does he mean? A mango's of course a mango's a mango, Prabhupada. And then he said, no, a green mango and a ripe mango are both mangoes. And he said, so there is a pure devotee in perfection and a pure devotee in practice, but they are both pure devotees. And he said, so as long as the pure devotee in practice stays on the path, eventually he will become a pure devotee in perfection. Just like a mango, as long as it stays attached to the tree, soaking up the rays of the sun, the green mango will eventually also become ripe. Sweet, yes. So like that.
And soft.
Huh?
And soft.
And soft, yes. And juicy. And plump. And so, so all of this to say, what are we about to celebrate next Thursday? So it is supposedly the day. We're not going to get into any debates about what is the actual day of Jesus' appearance. That's a whole nother thing. But in general, it's meant to be the day of a great saintly person appearing in this world who had profound, significant impact in the lives and hearts of the people around. And for those who are deep believers, that he made an immense sacrifice. One might say the most powerful sacrifice, that he was willing to give his own life for others. Now, of course, we may never be called to do that. Or we may have already been called to do that. I don't know. Each of you, what you've done in your lives. But to be willing to sacrifice our own life for even one other person. But what to speak of for everyone. There's one great saintly person in our lineage that he was praying that he was willing to take on all of the sinful reactions, all of the bad karma of everyone in this world. And he would just bear it all if everyone else could be freed of it. And there was another great saint, Ramanuja, who was given a mantra. And he was told by his guru that if you, this is a secret mantra, and I'm giving it to you because I trust you, and you can't give it to anyone else. And as he started to chant it, he became free from all the bad karma, all these negative vibrations, and he was feeling liberated from distress and anxiety. And as he was walking around, he was seeing that everyone else was so distressed and in such anxiety and suffering so much. And he thought, how can I chant this mantra? How can I be so selfish to chant this mantra while all these other people are suffering? And so he declared to all of them, come meet me. I'm going to share with you the most valuable thing. I'm going to give you something that is so powerful that it will help you so much. And he gave the mantra to everyone. And they all started chanting. And the guru, they were all chanting so loud the guru could hear them all chanting. And so he called him. And he began to chastise him so badly. And this saintly person said, Dear Gurudev, I am willing to go to hell and suffer if all of these other people are freed from their suffering. And somehow when he spoke it with such depth because he meant it, that the Guru started to cry. And he realized, actually, you are the Guru, and I am the student. And then he surrendered to him. So this is the mood of sacrifice, and this is the mood. And as I'm telling these stories, I'm correlating how Bhakti and Christianity, real Christianity, are very much correlated in the mood of sacrifice, the mood of compassion. We know that when Christ was on the cross, that he offered a prayer. Anyone remembers what that prayer was? It was a prayer of forgiveness. And he prayed for the people who had persecuted him. And he said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. He was so realized. He was so connected. He didn't need a church. He didn't need a temple, because he was communing and connecting with God every single day, every single moment within his heart. So this idea of Christ and Krishna is discussed in many different ways. First, I wanted to touch on are we still good for time? Because I have this tendency that I haven't even started to talk yet. They put one of these in front of me and I'm like, whoa, I can just talk for hours. So I wanted to touch upon first this idea of what Christmas has become. And Christmas really, for most people, as a child growing up, Christmas was about one thing. Anyone would like to think what I thought Christmas was about?
Presents.
Huh? Santa, yes. And Santa connected directly with?
Presents.
Presents. Anyone else had that as their upbringing? No? Dear Lord, am I the only one? Okay. Gosh. You did? Yeah? Okay, everyone's just shy. I was encouraged as a young child to get out the catalog and make a list to Santa and ask him, to bring me this, what I wanted. I mean, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? So we used to make a list and we'd write to Santa. Now, anyway, that's a whole nother thing. We could go on for hours. I'm not going to do that. But the word Santa, what does Santa mean?
Saint.
It means saint. And the word Santa in Sanskrit also means peaceful, but it can also refer to a peaceful person or a saintly person. Actually, in the, let me just find this. In the Bhagavad Gita, who here has read the Bhagavad Gita? Anyone here for the very first time? That's usually the first question I ask. Anyone here for the very first time? Okay, a few people, yeah. Well, it's only, I think, my third or fourth time. So you guys got 2 more times, and then you're going to be given the talk, okay? You ready for that?
Okay.
All right. So in the Bhagavad Gita, which is an amazing book, we have lots of copies here. There's a verse, 3:13 of the Bhagavad Gita. Yagya shashasthana santo muchyanti sarva kilbisai bunjate te twagam papa ye pachantyatma karanat. And the translation is that the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of reactions because they eat food which is offered first as sacrifice. And others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. And in the purport, the explanation of the verse, Srila Prabhupada says, the devotees of the Supreme Lord, or the persons who are in Krishna consciousness, are called Santas. Santas. Because the Sanskrit translation is Yagya Shashasthana Santo. And he says, so they are called Santas. And they are always in love with the Lord as it is described in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Velochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. The Santas, being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasure, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme. So, Santa Claus is a devotee. Because he's a Santa. And he's in a deep, Prabhupada uses the term, I love this, he says, in a compact of love. He's in a compact of love with God. So that's what it means to be a Santa. It means that you're saintly. Yes, and your name is Alan?
Alan.
Yes, right, Alan.
But Santa Claus is wearing red, right?
Well, I see where you're going with this, Alan. But that also is another thing. So Santa Claus comes from Saint Nicholas. And Saint Nicholas didn't wear red. He was a saint. And he was actually, he flourished in, I think it was like the 4th century, in an area known as Turkey. Like it was differently named then, but around what we would know as Turkey. And actually there's a date, December 6th, is actually Saint Nicholas Day. And on that day, he's actually celebrated because he's kind of a patron saint of giving. He would give gifts. He was known very much for his propensity to give gifts, especially to the poor, and especially to the poor children, and especially on this day of December 6th, known as now St. Nicholas Day. Interesting correlation. but Alan, he didn't wear red. That's a whole nother subject, which came out later. Yeah?
Why is wearing red bad?
No, I didn't say wearing red is bad.
Oh.
Look, I'm wearing red right here.
Yeah, but why do like Christian people think wearing red is bad?
I don't think it is. It's just in some spaces, red may symbolize the devil. Red is generally connected with passion.
It's bad.
Well, is passion bad? I guess different types of passion can be bad. We can be so passionate about things that we forget to act the proper way, and we are passionate about just getting what we want, when we want it, how we want it, right? Like that. So passion can also be understood in different ways. There's passion like you could say an amorous type of passion, like love, or lust kind of passion. But there's also the passion of like, I drive fast and I jump lights kind of passion. Like I'm passionate to get somewhere. Or, does that make sense? So I guess sometimes, if someone might want to dress seductively, they might put on red lipstick and wear red high heels and a red dress. But does it mean that red is bad? No. Anyway. So just so that's all clear, I didn't say red is bad, okay? And if that's your takeaway from tonight, whew, dag, man, I missed the point, totally. So I just want to make sure you don't walk out here tonight like, I'm never wearing red again, and you go home and tell your mom, Mom, you're going to hell. The guy at the Hare Krishna temple said it. It's like, what? So I didn't say that.
So what about blue?
Oh, dear Lord, Sri Hari. Blue is not bad also. But you shouldn't wear it in front of the deities. Nope, just ironically. All colors are what they are. They may have a specific impact on us when we wear them or when we look at them, right? I forget what it is. I think it's yellow or orange. Generally, they increase the desire to eat, which is why if you go into some restaurants, they'll almost always paint it that color. I've understood, especially McDonald's. So blue may be a color that makes you a little more calm. Red may be a color that ignites you, So different colors may have different effects on us. That doesn't make them good or bad, right or wrong. It just makes them what they are, and how they impact us. Does that make a little bit of sense? Okay. But I bet you got a lot of good questions, Alan. Intelligent person. Okay, well, thank you. We're working good then. This is great. So, St. Nicholas and Santa Claus and Santas. So already we've got some connections here. Santa Claus, in general, the idea came from a person who was charitable and giving. And in Krishna consciousness, the principle is that we should also be giving and charitable. We should want to give. And we should want to help others, especially if we have been blessed to have more than someone else. So all of these are natural propensities of someone in the process of bhakti, practicing bhakti. Confirmed. Unfortunately, as time went on, it wasn't so much about, like they say, it is better to give than to receive. But unfortunately, a lot of what it becomes about is actually the receiving. What I want to get, what I want. And it becomes very self-centered in the sense of I and me and my, I remember one Christmas I wanted to get a stereo system with a, I'm going to show my age now. That was when we still played records, vinyl records. Of course, now they're like a cool, trendy thing. But, yeah, and I wanted a record player with nice speakers because I liked music. And I woke up Christmas morning, and I went out and looked under the tree, and it wasn't there. And I thought, oh, they must have hid it somewhere else. And I went and looked there, and it wasn't there. And I looked in several places, and then I just started crying. And my mom was like, why are you crying? And I said, because I wanted the record player, and I didn't get it. And then she started crying. And she said, we wanted to get it for you, but we just don't have enough money. And I thought, well, what about Santa? And the Santa Claus myth exploded. Sorry, if anyone still believes in Santa here, he is true. He is real. I don't want to spoil anyone's Christmas. That's another thing. They go home, that Hare Krishna guy, he ruined the myth of Santa for me. So like that. So anyway, it's meant to be about giving, not about receiving. So Christmas, literally the word Christmas means Christ's Mass. Christ's Mass. And it's a compound name, Christ. And Christ comes from the Greek word Christos. Christos, meaning the anointed one. And Mass refers to the Eucharist service and literally describes a Christian religious service held to celebrate the birth of Jesus. So we come together as a Mass, which is also another thing, that coming together is very much a principle of Bhakti. Our practice is that we come together in order to chant, and that is called San, S-A-N in Sanskrit, which is the equivalent of sum in English, S-U-M, which means that the sum of the parts together is greater than any one on its own. And when we come together, like we were doing earlier with this wonderful young lady, and she was chanting, and we were all doing what? Singing. We were following. So when we come together and we chant, then it becomes more powerful. This union, this unification of souls joining together in a compact of love with the divine, with the supreme, is such a powerful thing. So in the same, Christmas is actually meant to be a celebration of the birth, of the appearance of Jesus. Welcome. Thank you for coming. So like that. So this is Christmas. Now this explanation also leads us to start into the word Christ. And we said it's from the Greek Christos. Christos. So Srila Prabhupada, he explained in one kind of interfaith discussion, he said that when an Indian person calls on Krishna, he often says Krishna. And Krishna is a Sanskrit word meaning attraction, because Krishna means the all-attractive, one who possesses qualities, all the qualities that are attractive. In general, there are 6 qualities that are attractive to living beings. And one is, of course, beauty. If one is beautiful, that is attractive. Another is that if one is intelligent, then one is attracted by intelligence. Oh, he's very clever, that one, very intelligent. Another is if someone is very strong. That's also attractive, right? We see people doing bodybuilding. And if one has a lot of money, that's also very attractive, right? If someone is extremely wealthy. And if someone is very famous, then that's also very attractive, right? And the last one, number 6, is if someone is very renounced. Means they're not attracted to any of the things that seem to be attractive. That's pretty attractive, right? Which is why people are attracted to saints. Because usually saints, in the words of Jesus, are in the world, but they are not of the world. Which again is another connection that in Bhakti we understand that I may be in this material body, this yantra, This is the Sanskrit word yantra, which means it's a machine. Yantra rudani mayaya. It's a machine made of the material energy. But I am not that machine. I am the driver. I am the spirit soul situated within the machine. So I am in the material world, but I am not of the material world. Like that. Yes, sir. And what is your name? Taj, like Taj Mahal.
Yes.
Taj.
Why does the renounced person seem attractive to the people?
What do you think?
I was talking to my dad about this, the paradox of life of if I say I want a girlfriend,
Yes.
girls leave. Then
I don't care.
they come.
They're like, yo, Taj, you're looking pretty good all of a sudden. Yesterday you was eager. Today we're eager. Right.
So I
Yeah.
don't have a full answer on that.
Okay, but you're definitely on the path of having a deep realization on that one. And I like your explanation. In general, I mean, let's be honest here. You don't have to raise your hand if you're too shy. But out of the 5 first things that I mentioned, who here finds that some of those are attractive? Yeah, beautiful people, money, famous people, strength, intelligence. And who here of us wants to acquire some of those qualities? Yeah? Okay. So those who didn't raise your hand, you're the renunciants. You're the people who are like, now there's a difference between I don't care and I'm not attached. And I don't know if you can get that distinction. Some people, they're like, oh, I don't care about those things. And they're basically lying to themselves. But then there are people who are just genuinely not attracted to it at all. And I don't know why, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't entice me in the least. And they're naturally detached. And there's a difference, because sometimes we can pretend to be detached. And you know what? That doesn't work either, Taj. So if you really want the ladies to flock around, you just gotta not be interested at all. It's got to be like, the shop's shut, ladies. And they're like, no, open up. And you're like, just see. And see, this is the interesting thing about saints, santas, that when they shut the shop, they always get tested. Right? And it's like Krishna, God, the divine, the supreme, he sends some tests to see, is the shop really shut? Or did you just shut the shop to see if you could get any business? And then it's like, well, there's business, guess I better open the shop. And we're using a lot of metaphor here, but I think you all kind of get the point. So the idea is like, if we're genuinely not, it is just attractive that someone isn't interested. Why? Because I want a piece of the other 5, and I'd also like to not be interested in any of the other 5. So I'm also attracted to that. Does that make a little bit of sense, Taj? Yes. Okay. So Prabhupada continued, and how are we doing with time? So when we address God, so he says, people from India, they'll say Krishna, and Krishna is a Sanskrit word meaning attraction. So when we address God as Christ, Krishna, or Krishna, we indicate the same all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Jesus said, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name," the name of God was Krishna or Krishna. So he is the Christ, he is the anointed one, and anointed by, ultimately, by whom? By God. And here we see another connection, that our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And what, as bhaktas, do we chant? We chant the Lord's holy names. So this, again, another connection. Then we understand that the name of the Supreme, the name of God, is actually very potent. Hallowed, it's sacred. It's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. It's something that should be taken very seriously. So Prabhupada continues and he says, Christ is another way of saying Krishna, and Krishna is another way of pronouncing Krishna, the name of God. Jesus said that one should glorify the name of God. But yesterday I heard one theologian say that God has no name. So Prabhupada is expressing, how could a theologian say God has no name? That we can call him only Father. A son may call his father, Father, but the Father also has a specific name. Similarly, God is the general name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose specific name is Krishna. Therefore, whether you call God Christ, Krishna, or Krishna, ultimately you are addressing the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like that. So I had a few more points, but I am aware that we're right at time. So I'll stop there. I think I covered a few ways that correlate, but I want to conclude with just this, that this year at Christmas, if you celebrate, and even if you don't, it's an opportunity to give. And we don't have to give money, and we don't have to give objects. We can simply give of our time. Towards the end of my celebrations of Christmas, what I did for all my friends, and it wasn't because I was a greedy pig, what I did for all my friends is I wrote them a card with some sentiment of expression of appreciation for them, handwritten, and in it, I gave them an IOU of like 1 day of my time. And I said, I just want to spend 1 day with you. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to do anything. We just sit together and spend time together. And actually, all of them were so immensely touched, they had never experienced it, because actually, time is the most valuable thing. And most of the time, we don't have any. And right now, Nityananda Chandra's Prabhu is thinking, you are out of time, brother. So like that. So this year at Christmas, just try to think, how can I spend time? Make that one call to someone and let them know that I'm thinking about you. Touch soul to soul with someone. Connect. It's a simple thing and it makes a big difference. Hare Krishna.
I think we can take 1 or 2 questions.
He's the boss. He is the time master. So in the back, and I remember you, but I've forgotten your name.
Narayan.
Oh, Narayan, yes.
And I have a question about Buddhism.
Okay.
If Buddha is impersonal, who is he meditating on, and why did Krishna incarnate as Buddha?
Okay, beautiful question. Did everyone understand his question? Because he's holding that mic, but no one in the room could hear him any better. It's just the people on the video.
Okay.
I'll repeat. No, I got
Alright,
it. Because they won't be, no matter how loud you scream into that, they won't hear anything because this is for the recording. So your question is about Buddhism, and you want to know if Buddha was an impersonalist, who was he meditating on? And why did Krishna incarnate as Buddha?
As we believe as Hare Krishna is.
As we believe what?
As Hare Krishna is that. Buddha
Yeah,
is
as Hare
incarnation.
Krishnas, we accept that Buddha is an incarnation of Krishna. So, very good question. So, there's a long answer, which I don't have time to give, but the short answer is basically this, that Lord Buddha came at a specific time as an incarnation of Krishna in order to rectify a situation that had kind of gotten out of control. And the situation that was getting out of control was that actually Brahmanas from Hindu faith, they were misusing the mantras of sacrifice, and they were conducting more or less open slaughter of animals for people to be able to eat. Even though in general it's not condoned, but if done in the right way, just like nowadays we have halal and we have kosher and we have different things like this, which entitles you to eat basically something that's forbidden as long as you follow a ritual to do it. So Krishna said, well, this isn't right. So he came as Buddha. And as Buddha, he preached the principle of ahimsa, which means nonviolence. And he preached for people to stop doing that. Now, the interesting thing is that there's an idea of preaching impersonalism, which meant, you don't follow this, you don't follow that. But he said, follow me. And he was Krishna. So that just goes to show that Krishna can be very tricky. So he says, follow me, but there is no God, but he was God, so then people started following God.
Awesome.
That was, wow, that was good, thank you. Narayan, you can ask any question, as long as you say awesome at the end. Anyone else? One more?
So I have a follow-up on that.
A follow-up, okay.
On the same Buddhism philosophy, so he discounted the fact that there is a self. He believed in the concept of anatta, so which contradicts a lot of fundamental philosophies of even ISKCON, or that we all are subject to multiple rebirths. So he completely said there is no self, and everything extinguishes after death like a flame.
Mm-hmm.
Like a flame goes away.
Yes. So, when I was in 2nd grade, my math teacher told me 2 + 2 = 4. And 2 - 2 = 0. And she told me that you can't take a larger number away from a smaller number. So you can't subtract 4 from 2. And I said, okay. And then next year, the math teacher told me, you can take 4 away from 2, and you get
-2.
-2. And I was like, how come the silly lady last year told me the wrong thing? Because according to time, place, and circumstance, sometimes we have to hear a certain thing to progress us along the path. So Lord Buddha came because there was a specific philosophy, and he had to undo that philosophy. And then after Buddha came Shankaracharya, and Shankaracharya brought the philosophy a little bit further back. And then came Ramanuja and Madhvacharya, and they brought it almost all the way back. And then eventually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he brought it to Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. And he helped us to understand that we are one with God, but we're also distinctly individual. And we are one in quality, not in quantity, like that. But it took, that happened over centuries. So it takes time. Just like in any corporation, if you want to, there's something called, what is it called? Change, not change philosophy, but change.
Inertia?
No, when you try to change a culture, change, maybe it's a change culture change. Huh? I can't hear you.
Revolution?
Well, revolution. Not exactly a revolution in the company, but if a company wants to change the way they've been doing something, it takes time, it takes thoughtfulness, it takes sensitivity, all of those things. So to change a whole philosophy of a humanity takes time. So like that. But yeah. And there are also different philosophies of different Buddhas. And I'm trying to remember, do you remember Satyaraj's book on Buddhism? Okay, it's really good. And it explains a lot of things. They're just like with Santa Claus. We think it's one way, but if you go back, you find out there was something else. So he's got a really good book, From Selfhood to Righteousness, or something like that. Satyaraj, you know Satyaraj, he's over, he comes to the Bhakti Center.
Oh, you mean different types of Buddhism?
Different types, and how the original Buddhism may not have been completely devoid of an understanding of God and the Atma. So later it progressed into something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Al, another question?
Alan's got a question, but
Oh,
he's the time master.
is time over? No, I mean, I wanted to know, like, can you gain time?
Can you gain time?
We lose time, but can we gain it?
Well, yeah, every year they put the clocks back and then they put them forward again. And they tell you, you just gained an hour, right? Yes, we can gain time. You want to know? We can gain eternity. We can gain eternality.
But I want to know if we can gain time here.
Yeah, you're here, aren't you?
Yeah, can we gain it?
You're here. And my question to you, Alan, is are you temporary or are you eternal?
I think I could be both.
And I think I agree with you 108%. So, if you begin to think more that you are an eternal spirit soul, you will find that the time will open up like a lotus for you, and your experience of time will become very different. You will think, wow, I have time. Because Krishna has another name. Another name for Krishna is Kala, which means eternal time. So if we make time for Krishna, Krishna makes time for us. Time expands in a way that we're like, how did that happen? And we won't be able to understand it. But it has to do with our understanding of our own personal identity. And if I think I'm a temporary jiva in the material world and I'm running out of time, then you will be a temporary jiva in the material world running out of time. But if you start to think, I'm actually a spirit soul, and I may be in a temporary jiva's body, but who I am is actually a divine spark of the splendor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And He's eternal, and I'm also eternal, Sat Chit and Ananda. And as you meditate on that, you will find that all the confines of time begin to open up.